Well, a persistent wet cough and ongoing fatigue could mean more than just a common respiratory illness. For the nearly 500,000 Americans diagnosed with a serious and often under-recognized lung disease called bronchiectasis, or BE for short, the symptoms are part of daily life, and experts believe millions more may have it and don't know it. Pulmonary specialist Dr. Thomas Yedegaard joins us to explain what you can watch for, how it's diagnosed, and how to manage symptoms and find support. Doctor, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Emily.
Thanks for being here. Let's talk a little bit about what exactly is bronchiectasis and how is it different from other lung conditions, other coughing and things that we see like asthma, COPD, pneumonia.
Well, bronchiectasis is a chronic progressive inflammatory condition of the lung in which patients' bronchial tubes get dilated and filled with mucus, which is usually thick and unable to be expectorated. That mucus is a perfect source for infection. So patients have those symptoms that you said, the chronic wet cough, the fatigue, and get these recurrent exacerbations and infections.
At what point do you think, okay, I need to go and see a doctor? What are some of the symptoms or the issues here that really need to raise a flag for folks?
Well, I think when those symptoms persist and when they are not getting better, it's important to seek a physician. And sometimes patients get chest x-rays, which is not really helpful to diagnose bronchiectasis, and you need to get a CT scan to make that diagnosis. Then the important thing of making that diagnosis is that patients frequently get these flares where their symptoms become significantly exaggerated. And during these flares that can last up to a month, patients are often self-isolate themselves. They don't hang out with their loved ones and their family members or friends. And we've already seen the negative effects of social isolation.
Yeah, no, that can be really tough and really frustrating to feel like you don't feel good and you don't know why. Why is bronchiectasis often underdiagnosed?
Emily, that's a great question. I think the simple answer is it lives in the shadows of other common diagnoses like asthma and COPD. And that's why it's so often misdiagnosed, because frequently healthcare providers will, just conclude that, oh, this is just asthma or it's COPD. That's why I've partnered with Insmed to shed some light on this important diagnosis and to inform people about bronchiectasis.
Yeah, and you mentioned that patients have flares or, worsening of symptoms as this goes on. So what happens during a flare and what impact does this have, the longer this goes untreated for people?
Yeah, that's another important question, because during these flares, their symptoms become exaggerated and it leads to progressive inflammation, which can cause scarring in the lungs. And unfortunately, the lungs are not really very, if you get the scarring, you get destruction of lung function. So what we want to do is preserve every lung function and avoid these flares and treat them as early as possible, because if you don't, it can go on for a month and lead to hospitalizations.
So if someone here is listening to this and thinks, okay, this might be something I need to, go and learn a little bit more about, where can they go?
They can go to explorebe.com. It's a great source for information so that you can ask all your important questions from your healthcare providers.
All right. Well, we really appreciate Dr. Yedegaard, the information, and hopefully this will bring some comfort to folks, especially this time of year. We know those coughs are everywhere. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Emily.
Of course. And if you'd like to learn more about bronchiectasis, you can check out this interview and more resources on coin.com. Just click on AM Extra.